Welcome to the Godly Woman podcast. My name is Melanie Luna, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of the role of the wife at home.
Yep. Very important. I would fail.
We're not only, to submit to our husbands, but we are to be the keepers of the home. So that just doesn't mean physically, but also spiritually. We're supposed to make sure the house is running smoothly in both areas, and we set the atmosphere, things like that. I was inspired to start this podcast because I currently am a housewife, and I felt a little bit of shame in the past, or not even in the past, just in these recent months from other women, even other believers, look at me a little weird when I say I'm a housewife. So then I began to ignore that question altogether or try to avoid it because they made me feel some sort of way, like as if that position was less than or not really that important.
Right, like it had no value.
Yeah, so a lot of people do tend to look over this role, but God actually sees it as really important. I remember recently we were watching a show called The Chosen, and in that show, Jesus is in the house of Peter, and he's, calling him to do ministry and all these things with him. But as his wife is in the home doing her daily duties, Jesus comes up to her and says, "Hey, I see you." And to me, that was like, I love that part because people think that that's not an important role, but Jesus came up to her and, just reassured her, like, I see you, and those everyday mundane tasks that you do are seen by me, and they are important. So, I just wanted to shed light on that because I feel like, in today's society, they put more value on careers and your purpose in ministry, especially in the church world and things like that, which are all good things. And I know that I do have a voice outside of my home, and I know that God has called me to do certain things, but I also know that it's not the timing for that. And I also know that what's more important right now is for me to establish a foundation in the home with my husband and for my future kids. Because eventually that's what's going to shape, your family. That's what's going to shape your churches. That's what's going to shape the kingdom of God and essentially the world. I mean, I feel like a lot of the problems that we are having in society is because the woman is not in the home, and they kind of see that position as not valuable, so they want to be like a man and go out, I want to do this and do that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. God can even call you to be in a career, a nurse, a teacher, etc. But don't place that as your identity or the number one thing, because actually the number one thing is in the home. So I did want to share a story of about 3 to 4 years ago when I first got saved. I remember going to church and they were talking about purpose and, having a vision and having a plan and all these things. And that actually didn't encourage me. That actually got me kind of stressed out. And I remember going home and
felt pressured.
Like, oh my God, I need to figure this out right now. And so I went home and I remember praying to the Lord, super frustrated, like, am I supposed to know my purpose right now? Like, what's happening? Who am I? Like, what am I doing? Right. And I remember I just sat in silence on the floor in my room at my mom's house. And out of nowhere, like, I just started weeping and crying, and I screamed, I just want to be a wife and a mom. And that's something that I never thought of in my own mind. Before I was saved, I was, just like everybody else. You want to find a career, you want to do this, you want to do that. So that's where my head was at. So with purpose, that's where my head was at. I was looking for something outside of me for my purpose. So right at that moment, the Lord showed me, like, first of all, you don't have to look for your purpose outside of you. You look for your purpose is in you. So all you have to do is seek God, spend time with Him, find out who He is, and find out how He designed you in Him, and He'll bring avenues of purpose to you. Like right now, being a housewife, that's one avenue of purpose. When I have children, that's another avenue. This right here is an avenue of purpose. And it might not even be forever. So when this goes away, it doesn't mean my purpose left with me. My purpose is inside of me. So needless to say, after that moment, I was free from trying to figure out what my purpose was. And so, you know, even at that point, I didn't meet Rodrigo yet, and the Lord even told me to stop looking for jobs.
How long after that experience did you meet?
Probably a couple years after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I remember right before I met him, I was still kind of like, Lord, like, you know, I don't know what you're going to do in my life, but I need some sort of breakthrough. So I did start looking for jobs again and whatever. I didn't know how else I would move forward. And the Lord literally told me, stop. And I didn't understand it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. And a couple months later, I met Rodrigo, and, you know, I started doing emails for him and just working in the business. But in recent months, it's kind of grown, and he has other people doing that. So now I'm just solely working in the home, and God made it a way for me for that desire that he designed me for, and all women for. Not just me, but all women were designed to take care of the home, to take care of their husbands and their kids, and it's not
be present.
And be present. Yeah, it's not a demeaning role. It's not less than. It's not unimportant or unvaluable. So
yeah, that's so true. And I mean, I think, guys, just to bring some validation to what Mel is saying, is that there are so many people today who focus so much on purpose, and you have to discover this. You have to find this out. Like, by 25, I have to be here. By 30, you have to be here. And so you have all these burdens that are not real. They're just man-made purposes that make you feel like you have to be somewhere in life. But I could not take care of a home by myself. I mean, some of you guys follow me. You have seen the post of what my apartment looked like before Melanie and what my apartment looked like with Melanie. And the background that you see, the place that we're in, it's a home, but it takes a wife to make the home. And I can't do that without her. I mean, every time I open a cabinet, every time I open the doors to our bathroom, our laundry, I am reminded to be thankful for who she is, because everything I need is always there. When I was by myself, God knows how many times I got mad at myself. When I met Melanie, I wasn't even making food at home. I was ordering every single night, every single meal, until she yelled at me and told me to get my life together. And I had no option but to get my life together. So it's so important, because I believe that when you have a good wife, it says that you receive and obtain favor from the Lord. And one of the things that oftentimes we confuse that is that we value favor as promotion. We value favor as the materialistic things that we get, promotion in the job. Sure, that's favor. But it's favor to have a house that's clean. It's favor to have a house that is just, you know, I don't have to do much in order, for real. Like, I was a mess every time that she would fly to New Jersey to visit me and we would be hanging out at my house. She would be cleaning my bathroom, because it's like, how do you live like this? And I'm not saying that I'm a pig or the Shrek, but I'm just not the nicest, neediest person. But in the journey of our marriage, I've discovered for me that, okay, I've gotten into the cooking things lately. I've gotten into the cleaning things lately, because I want to serve my wife, and making a note mentally that those things please her, and that it brings even something that would cause her to feel joy makes me happy. So it is my duty to fulfill that aspect. And, you know, she's pushed me into becoming that husband that I have to be by design, the way that God called me to be. So again, it takes a wife to make a marriage, and it takes a man to make the marriage. But really, it took a lot of her things that I had not consciousness for, to really put me in that place. So if I wasn't married, God knows what my house would look like today, because I knew I wanted to get out of the apartment where we were at before we met. But it's just so passionate, you know. Like she said in recent conversations that we were with our spiritual fathers, he just shares some light, like, you know, the housewife role is so valuable. The home can't be the home without the mother, and the home can't be the home without the wife or the father or the husband. And if it's incomplete, and she's definitely completed that aspect of our life. So from my perspective, if you are a woman and you're out here crushing it in your entrepreneur goals, congrats. But don't forget your home, because I wouldn't be here in the stability that I have, the security that I have in my home, without having a great, great wife. And I just, you know, when she talked about impact and how much you can actually develop with your purpose, that is so true. But think about it this: everything begins at home, and your greatest purpose will be at home. When you impact one kid, you raise him the right way, you're impacting more than one generation. There's multiple generations there that you're blessing. So just wanted to encourage you from my perspective and put that into play. Mel had so much, she was struggling with shame concerning this, and she came up to me about 4 weeks ago, and she said, man, God just told me this. And I said, really? And so in conversations, again, going back to what we were saying with our spiritual father, he said, yeah, that's pretty normal, where people will shame you just for being a housewife. But we need the housewives. We need the wives who will support the men. We need the wives. Like, having Mel has liberated me from responsibilities that I was just like, Lord, please set me free. And he did. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah, so just for, to end it, if you desire to be a housewife, or if you currently are, or also stay-at-home mom, don't be ashamed of that role. Like, don't let people, especially the people that are feminist or whatever is going on in today's society, that they're kind of mixing in with the church, because I've even seen that.
Yeah.
Don't let them shame you about it, because actually it's a really important role. And you were called for it, you were designed for it, and it's not easy. So yeah.
Good job. See you guys. Catch you later.